All right, Shalom Akim, Shalom, Shalom. Okay, this is your brother Zakaria Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, coming with another lesson through the Spirit, the Lord willing us be edifying to the Lord's elect. Before I get started with this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well. Shalom to the Akim out there that's pushing the truth, that's laboring in the word, and is pushing the gospel of the great kingdom that's soon to come. Shalom to the Akwath that's listening in, that's remaining true to the faith, and remaining faithful and submissive to their husbands and guiding their children. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes that scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth, to you Israelite foreigners out there who live among the heathen and who look like those heathen nations. But your lineage goes back to the progenitors of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel through the line of your fathers. All right, I want to say peace and blessings to you all, Barakatham. Okay, so dealing with more prophecy here, man. All right, as you can see on the screen, a lot of a lot of people starting to feel it with this with this shortage here. You know what I'm saying? With the oil, which we prophesied, we told you was going to happen. You know what I'm saying? That within just a couple weeks, they will no longer be able to hide. All right, what is going on? They're no longer going to be able to hide the damage that this war is causing. All right, that was going to reach the shores of America. All right, and it is reached. It is reaching the shores of America now. You see what I'm saying? Babylon the Great. This is it says JetBlue founder. All right, JetBlue founder says that the airline is headed for bankruptcy. All right, that is headed for bankruptcy. The company is $8 billion in debt with projections to lose another $1.3 billion this year. Right? So this is going to be, all right, this is going to be a major major hit. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't going nowhere, man. Y'all are not going nowhere. You ain't going on no vacation. You ain't going on that cruise. You ain't doing this. You ain't doing that. You know what I'm saying? People, all right, people really thought that this wasn't going to hit them, man. You know what I'm saying? You still making plans to go and do this and do your vacationing and all that stuff, all that good stuff, man. You know, like Apostle Tahar said years ago, man. You know, now is not the time to be doing all this traveling. Now's not the time to be doing all this this lavish type of moving around, thinking that everything's gonna be sweet. You know, we saw what went down. What was it? Late last year, or was it early this year? I forget. Man, so much stuff happened so quick. But you remember that that all of a sudden there was a oh yeah, it was earlier this year. Um, this character, I forget his name, but he was the head of a cartel, and he was murdered, and immediately the cartels was going into like a civil war type of deal. You know what I'm saying? And airports were shut down, and people were stranded in Mexico, and one family was sending a letter to their grandmother saying you may have to hold on to Junior for a little longer. You know what I'm saying? And in case anything happens, here's the combination to the safe so you can get my will. It's crazy work, man. All right, crazy work. Since things went down over there in West Asia, all right, with Iran, all right, and UAE and Kuwait and Oman, so on and so forth, man, people are stranded over there. Americans are stranded over there. Okay, niggas going to Dubai and all that shit, and they stuck there. They stranded there with all those bombs everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Missiles flying and shit. All right, sirens on all the time. All right, because nobody takes heed to the prophets. People only heed the words of the prophets when it's too late to heed them. You see what I'm saying? And now it's finally coming home to roost. Okay? Check this out.
Airlines passengers are certainly listening to the airline when they say not to come to the airport. Spirit Airlines
Salakia. So this thing's bugging out. Let me see if I can try and get this. Let me see. Bear with me, Akim. I don't know why this thing's acting like this. Let's let it play through and then play it again, alright?
the next few days, you should try to rebook yourself on another airline using the available rescue fares. Spirit Airlines passengers are certainly listening to the airline when they say not to come to the airport. Spirit Airlines shut down on Saturday, May 2nd, leaving potentially thousands of passengers stranded as they scrambled to find alternative flights. The airline said that it was not able to help passengers do any rebooking, but they are making refunds available to those who booked their tickets using a credit or debit card on Spirit Airlines' website. Other carriers announced rescue fares to help Spirit's stranded passengers get home. And you can see here at LaGuardia International Airport in New York that Spirit Airlines terminal at the Marine Air Terminal is essentially empty. If you have Spirit Airlines tickets and plans to travel in the next few days, you should try to rebook yourself on another airline using the available rescue fares. Spirit Airlines.
All right. So it says Spirit Airlines shuts down, leaving passengers scrambling. Okay, travelers affected by Spirit Airlines shutdown may face challenges getting refunds and alternate flights. It says Spirit Airlines announced on May the 2nd that it was suspending operations after years of financial hardships compounded by a recent spike in fuel prices. All right. The historic Marine Air Terminal, where Spirit's operation is housed at LaGuardia International Airport in New York, was largely deserted the morning of May the 2nd. There were few passengers, but a plethora of signs explaining that the airline had shuttered its operations. Airport employees directed the one or two passengers who did still show up to head to other terminals where they could rebook themselves on other airlines. All flights have been canceled, and the airline's customer service is no longer available. So this is the first airline company that goes down. All right, Spirit Airlines, and that's the cheapest airline that Jake likes to go on. You know what I'm saying? They go and they act they do their dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? They get into fights. They be ratchet and all that type of stuff, man. In Spirit Airlines, they bring their ghetto bullshit over there. You know what I'm saying? All right. Well, now you ain't got no cheap flights. Ain't no cheap flights for you no more, man. You know what I'm saying? So you can get on a cheap cruise, and you can argue over free food. Like this is the Lord is cutting all this shit out. He's cutting it all out, man. Let's go here. Let's go to Ezekiel. All right. Ezekiel chapter 7 and verse 1, it says, Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Also, thou son of man, thus saith the Lord power unto the land of Israel, the end is come upon the four corners of the land. Now is the end come upon thee, and I will send mine anger upon thee, and will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense upon thee all thine abominations. Mine eyes shall not spare thee, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense thy ways upon thee, and thine abominations shall be in the midst of thee, and ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh power, and evil, and only evil, behold, is come. An end is come. The end is come. It watcheth for thee. Behold, it is come. The morning is come unto thee, O thou that dwellest in the land. The time is come. The day of trouble is near, and not the sounding again of the mountains. See what I'm saying? So now we're already seeing airlines, all right, going under because of this shortage. Okay, and that's 2 already. That's in the red. That's already in the red. You know what I'm saying? So let's go here. Bear with me. All right. I'm just gonna get a couple of these headlines, man, from the economic collapse. All right, this is the economic collapse blog.com. It says oil production in the Persian Gulf has fallen 57% from pre-war levels. Rationing and shortages are coming. Rationing and shortages are coming. And this is the problem with Jake, man. They never think these things through. They never think that this is going to affect everything of their lives. I mean, everything that they deal with, man. You see what I'm saying? Everything. From food to water, okay? To your flights, so on and so forth. Everything that revolves around this oil is going to be affected. All right, and it's going to affect all these different jobs. It's going to affect all these different businesses that need fuel. All right, that rely on trucks to make it to them. Right? It says they aren't telling you the truth about what is coming. Even if the Strait of Hormuz reopens tomorrow, and there is no way that this is going to happen. Okay. Even if the Strait of Hormuz reopens tomorrow and there's no way that this is going to happen, oil production will not return to pre-war levels for years. In other words, we are facing an extended global energy crisis no matter what happens now. No matter how you slice it, this is the outcome. No matter what happens, no matter how you slice this bitch, it's the same outcome. You see what I'm saying? And I remember we the prophets, we were speaking about these things, all right, years ago. Years ago. If they attack Iran, when they inevitably do, because it is written, when they inevitably attack Iran, all right, they're going to close that Strait of Hormuz. And it's going to bring the world into a cataclysmic meltdown, financial meltdown. All right. So it says, in other words, we're facing an extended global energy crisis no matter what happens now. Of course, if the fighting resumes and more oil and gas infrastructure is destroyed, the consequences will be that we will experience will be even worse. All right, it's going to be exacerbated, and the only thing that these jakes can think about doing, and all these goofy ass, Christian right or whatever, what I'm saying, all they can think about doing is voting. That's all you can think about. That's your only course of action. That's all you can do. That's all you can think about. You see what I'm saying? This system is finished. All right? Sometimes it baffles my mind, but you know what I'm saying? Hey, it is what it is, man. Of course, if the fighting resumes and oil and gas infrastructure is destroyed, the consequences that we will experience will be even worse. We're already witnessing rationing and shortages in some parts of Asia because they are more dependent on oil from the Middle East than anyone else. But as nations all over the world run through their strategic reserves, rationing and shortages will become a lot more widespread during the months that are ahead of us. And it's coming. It's coming. This article right here, 55% of Americans say that their financial situations are getting worse. That is an all-time record high. That means that over half, if there's 5 people in the room, or let's say if there's 10 people in the room, 5 people have their financial situations in a horrible decline, while the others are just about to hit that same rock. You know, says Americans were not even this stressed about their financial situations during the Great Recession. You see? As you will see below, a brand new Gallup survey has discovered that 55% of Americans believe that their finances are getting worse. That is even higher than any reading that Gallup recorded during the recession of 2008 and 2009. Those of you who remember that year, 2008 to 2009, that was the most interesting year. That was a very, very interesting year, man. All right? A very interesting year. Yeah, I remember that one, man. That was, it was, whoo-wee. Like there was self deletions within Wall Street at least twice per week that was happening, man. That was so interesting. Anyway, and it is even higher, and it is higher than any reading that Gallup recorded during the pandemic. All right, so everywhere that I see with people that's talking about this situation that's unfolding, all I can see in the comments are a bunch of jokers that's saying, well, it was worse under Biden. It's not as bad as it was under Biden. You know what I'm saying? The gas was even worse under Biden. You know what I'm saying? Very soon you're not going to be able to lean on that talking point. All right? Because it's going to get astronomically worse. Astronomically worse. All right? So it says, but of course, this shouldn't exactly be a surprise to any of us. We've been in a historic cost of living crisis since 2020. All right? Elder Malcolm, what did he say? He said that it was the what did he say? I think he said it was the retail apocalypse or something. Okay, that was going on back in 2019 and before that, like right before the whole pandemic. You know what I'm saying? And retail stores was just closing left and right. Right? And he said, he said it was a retail apocalypse, man. Okay? It reads, and our standard of living has been steadily deteriorating as the purchasing power of our money has gone down. All right? And then you saw things like conditions called lamenting, you know? People are no longer happy. Let's go to Isaiah. 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 Right, so let's go to Isaiah chapter, let's see. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 24. Okay, this is Isaiah chapter 24. Let's go to verse. Let's go to verse 4. All right, Isaiah chapter 34, verse 4 reads, verse 24, verse 4 reads, the earth mourneth and fadeth away, the world languisheth and fadeth away, the hardy people of the earth do languish. All right. So that was a whole condition that was coming out, you know what I'm saying, during that pandemic. You know what I'm saying? People was lamenting. They were languishing. All right? The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinances, broken the everlasting covenant. All right? It's about to get much worse, man. The lamenting is going to be real. The languishing is going to be immense. Okay? Due to these oil prices, the global oil crisis just escalated to a new level, and U.S. farmers are planting the fewest acres of wheat since records began in 1919. All right, and people still don't want to say that we in a recession. All right, that wait, man, we about to enter into a depression far worse than what happened in 2000, excuse me, in 1920s. All right, this is gonna be far worse than the Great Depression of 1920, 1929. You see what I'm saying? It says every single day that the Strait of Hormuz is closed, the damage that is being done to the global economy is getting even worse. But the full consequences of the global oil crisis that we are facing will not be felt for a while because nations all over the globe are still running through their strategic oil reserves. All right? And he says, let me read that again. It says, but the full consequences of the global oil crisis that we are facing will not be felt for a while because nations all over the globe are still running through their strategic oil reserves. But he doesn't account, all right, he doesn't account for the fact that over 30 countries have now ceased from shipping to the United States. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Schneider doesn't account for that. All this is connected, man. All right, all of it's connected. It says, and the full consequences of the global fertilizer crisis that we are facing will not be felt until harvest season. All right, and when is harvest season? I believe that's as a matter of fact, let me look that up. When is harvest season? All right. Harvest season. Real quick. Harvest season in the United States typically occurs from late summer through autumn. All right, so I thought so. It'll start being felt around August. All right, it'll start being felt around August to October. You know what I'm saying? So harvest season in the United States typically occurs from the late summer through autumn, particularly in September and October. This is when many crops such as grains, fruits, and vegetables are gathered from the fields. Okay? So let me read this part again. It says, and the full consequences of the global fertilizer crisis that we're facing will not be felt until harvest season. So don't judge the severity of this emergency by what we're experiencing at this moment, because the truth is that what we're experiencing at this moment is just a very small tip of a very large iceberg. All right, and he's right about that. You see what I'm saying? Because when this thing hits, all right, they're not going to be able to hide just how bad this is, man. You know, and I was just watching a briefing, all right, or a hearing in the Senate where Pete Hegseth was going before the Congress, and it was just the man. The clown show that's coming out of this administration, it's not like it was with this whole Biden administration. All right, that Biden administration, that shit was just it was embarrassing, but it was also funny at the same time. This is embarrassing, and it's very dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Because the world is now seeing this guy, all right, describing the piracy that they're doing in the Strait of Hormuz, and he's bragging about it. Like, these are literally war crimes. This is all types of shit that's going down. All right, that completely, all right, completely goes against the values, the so-called values that Americans say that they uphold. All right, and the world is watching this. You see what I'm saying? So it says a flashing red warning signal in California. All right, and I say before, you have to watch what happens in California and what happens in New York, because what happens in either of these two states sets the temperature for how the rest of the country is going to be affected, how the rest of the country is going to go. All right. When they started to put military boots on the ground and a semblance of martial law, where did they start? When they was going after these migrants, after these immigrants, you know what I'm saying? All right, when they was going after Jake, who went across the border, where did they start? They started in California. They started in California. You see what I'm saying? When the pandemic first started, where was the first case? All right, where was the first outbreak? The first outbreak was in California, right? Let me get this real quick. Where was the first outbreak of COVID-19? Okay, let me rephrase that, because it's saying Wuhan. Let's go to in America. All right. It says the first outbreak of C19 in America occurred in Washington State. Okay, Washington State and Seattle. Interesting. That's interesting, because the first place that I heard it was in California. All right, but nevertheless, all right, the same pattern remains. The same pattern remains, man. All right. So it says a flashing red warning signal in California. Gasoline is $6. All right, and Slocky, they wrote that wrong. Little typo. So bear with me. It says gasoline is now $6 a gallon, and diesel is now $7 a gallon. Okay. So it says you probably noticed that gasoline is starting to become extremely expensive. That is really bad news for all of us, because our entire way of life depends on cheap energy. All right, we can't make stuff without energy. We can't move stuff without energy. That's why the cost of energy directly affects the cost of everything else, as we've seen with the airlines. All right. In fact, energy is literally the foundation of our entire economy. If we have cheap energy, we will have a high standard of living. If we do not have cheap energy, we will not have a high standard of living. It's really that simple. Okay? It's really that cut and dry, man. You know? So we're about to see this thing hit, man. All right, I remember when I was young, and my mother had told me of a dream that my sister had, my older sister at the time. And she said that in her dream she saw gas at $5 a gallon. She saw gas at $5 a gallon in her dream. And I was how old was I? I think I was about 12 years old at the time. So if I was 12 years old, she's 8 years older than me, so she was about 20 years old at the time. All right? So now we're here, man. All right, now we're here because I remember my mom. She was terrified at that dream because back at that time when I was 12 years old, gas was what I think gas was a little under $1. I think gas was a little under $1. I think it was like 90, 95, 97 cents or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So here we are, and we're right on the cusp of $5 a gallon over here in Pennsylvania. All right, over in California, it's now $6 a gallon. So here we are, man. All right. The word of the Lord does not come back to him void. Right? Get this in Isaiah chapter 55. All right. Verse 11. Isaiah 55 and 11. So shall my word that goes forth out of my mouth, it shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. See what I'm saying? Again, on the fertilizer, the global fertilizer shortage is going to mean the spring planting season in the northern hemisphere will be a total disaster. Nobody is going to be able to save the spring planting season in the northern hemisphere now. And that is really bad news because according to United Nations, the number of people in the world experiencing acute hunger was already at an all-time high, even before the war began. A historic global food crisis has been escalating for years, and now farmers all over the northern hemisphere either can't get the nitrogen fertilizer that they desperately need or are paying much more for it. As a result, global food prices will start rising dramatically once harvest season rolls around. And in many impoverished nations, there simply won't be enough food for everyone. All right. So let me end this off here. All right, this is Ezekiel chapter 4. Okay, Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse 16. It says, Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, and they shall eat bread by weight and with care, and they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment. These are rationings. All right, there's going to be so little food left. All right, so little food left that people are going to have to ration. All right, eating bread, things like crackers. All right, all types of stuff, man. And it's spiritual, man. It's the spirit because the Lord got me on this thing, the intermittent fasting. Excuse me, tongue twister. But the Lord's got me on this intermittent fasting. I've been doing it for a couple weeks now. You know what I'm saying? I feel great. Feel great. You know, I feel great because to be honest, we're not meant to be eating 3 times a day. We're not meant to be eating so many times and so much throughout the day, man. You have to give your body, all right, you have to give your body time to break down, the food. You have to give your body the time to detox. You know what I'm saying? You can't keep stuffing things into your body, and overloading it. You know what I'm saying? And so it's good to get into this type of practice now. It's good to get into this mindset of having less, going with less now before we're forced to live in this situation. You know what I'm saying? But what does the Lord say is going to happen for his elect? Right? Let's go to Isaiah chapter 65. All right, Isaiah chapter 65 and verse Let's start at verse 12. Isaiah 65 and 12. Therefore will I number you to the sword, and ye shall all bow down to the slaughter. Because when I called, ye did not answer. All right, and he calls and he speaks through his prophets. Because when I called, ye did not answer. When I spake, ye did not hear, but did evil before mine eyes, and did choose that wherein I delighted not. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, behold, my servants shall eat, and but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. You see what I'm saying? So I want to end this off by showing you a quick video. All right? But I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect of the nation of Israel. This has been your brother Zechariah Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. In closing, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rachah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who rule well, who teach well. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Shalom.